I think that you can't actually continue to do that without any gratitude. There was no gratitude. Meghan wouldn't be known for anything if she hadn't actually married Harry and been in the royal family. Well, I didn't believe it in the first place. I thought, why would he suddenly be all cosy and nice and want to come? And why on earth would Meghan speak to King Charles if she hates the monarchy so much? It makes good news. People want to read about it. So I think quite soon they'll get bored stiff, but there's something compelling about hearing all this nastiness you just want to know, you want to hear about it. You can't believe it. You can't believe what he's saying. You can't believe the lies he's telling.
You sound like a troll. You sound like a social media troll. Everything you can point out that's incorrect.
Very rude. You don't call someone a troll with respect. That's without respect.
No, it is with respect.
Let me talk about something else. Abigail Spencer, who is also a friend of Meghan's, she was given the 6th jar of jam.
Royal watchers, hold on to your teacups, because what I'm about to spill could rewrite everything you thought you knew about Harry and Meghan. Forget the carefully polished PR love story. They may not have been what they appeared to be at all. Whispers are swirling louder than ever, a backup romance, palace moves that cut sharper than a diamond, and secrets so deep the Crown would never dare print them in an official statement. This isn't just about love, this is about strategy, ambition, and a game of power where one wrong move changes everything. Angela Levin, the royal biographer with ears closer to the palace walls than most ever dream, just dropped a bombshell that has people gasping into their tea. And let me tell you, by the end of this story, you might not see the Sussex saga as a fairy tale anymore. You might see it for what some insiders claim it's always been, a plan. So buckle up. We're about to spill this royalty together.
And to, get rid of them so they could come and present a more woke, upward market couple. I think it was either a ploy set up so they can be nice and then whack them a week or so later. There are people who do that. Jar of jam.
Who's hysterical about it? It's PR. She's trying to sell something. This is called advertising.
I know what PR is. Well, I am and I'm not, actually. Why she didn't come over, because it's obviously stressful.
Yeah.
He's obviously unable to cope with questions, or he has not done his research.
Angela Levin just threw the Sussex marriage into a whirlwind of speculation. And shockingly, it's not Harry at the center of the whispers. It's William. Yes, Prince William. According to Levin, Meghan Markle's eyes weren't always set on Harry. Nope. Her first royal target, if palace insiders are to be believed, was the heir to the throne himself, William, the future king. Now, before you roll your eyes thinking this is some wild tabloid spin, remember, Levin isn't a random gossip columnist. She's a seasoned royal biographer, deeply plugged into palace circles long before Meghan even knew where Kensington Palace was. Levin says these whispers didn't come from random speculation. They came straight from palace insiders, staffers, aides, people who were there, watching. They say Meghan's early days in royal orbit weren't just about making friends. They describe her approach as laser-focused on William, not romantically, but strategically. Think of it as calculated charm, a perfectly measured warmth, a deliberate positioning move from someone who knew exactly how much power proximity to the future king could hold.
People might be annoying if they can't get their jam one after the other. If they've got to wait, it's going to be terrible. So she wipes them out. This is what she was talking about to Tina Knowles, the mother of Beyonce. It was her last podcast. Well, last week was her last podcast, but this week she decided to do another one, so it's the last one but plus one.
Okay.
And Tina gave her a real whopping, really. She kept telling her, well, it's not a good idea to let things run out. And what are you doing? Get on with it, girl. But Meghan then said, we don't know how many tears she's cried while she's got all this ready. It's been so difficult because she's done so much work. So it's a very extraordinary way of behaving and not doing anything for 6 months. Because she doesn't want to upset.
See, Meghan didn't stumble into this world by sheer luck. She had been preparing for it, networking with Hollywood elite, rubbing shoulders with political donors, stylists, and power players, the very crowd that knows how to navigate high society and whisper their way into the right rooms. So, if Levin's claims hold water, Meghan wasn't just showing up to royal events by coincidence. She knew exactly where William and Kate would be, and she made sure she was noticed. It wasn't accidental, it was a maneuver. And here's where it gets even spicier. Levin claims William saw through it long before Meghan's story played out. Growing up under relentless scrutiny, William was trained to spot opportunists the way a hawk spots prey. He remained polite, he always is, but distant. Meghan's calculated charm, according to these whispers, never cracked his guard. And Kate? Oh, she allegedly saw it instantly. The so-called sisterly bond Meghan once spoke longingly of? Insiders insist it never stood a chance. And not because of culture clashes, but because Meghan, at one point, allegedly had her eyes on Kate's husband.
No one realized that Meghan dared to seduce William in front of Kate, who's pregnant. But rats can only live in dark and damp corners. At a charity event, Meghan placed her hand on Harry's arm, but her eyes wandered toward William. This detail was caught by pregnant Kate. At another event, after shaking hands with guests, Kate naturally stood beside William. Meghan mimicked her. After shaking hands, she also moved closer to William. Harry noticed Meghan's restlessness and quickly stepped forward. He placed his left hand on Meghan's back, signaling her to behave. But the persistent Meghan clearly hadn't given up. While viewing the floral arrangements, she pulled Harry's hand and leaned toward William. Even more unsettling was the way she looked at William. Fortunately, William had no interest in these antics. Whenever Meghan tried to interact with him, he would avoid her by adjusting his scarf. Now that he and Kate have gone through the trial of her cancer, their relationship is even stronger. Meanwhile, Harry has been making frequent trips to London, seemingly seeking a return to royal life. So, you think Kate would stop Meghan from returning to the royal family?
Now imagine being Kate, standing at royal events, all smiles for the cameras, while quietly noticing another woman studying your husband a little too intently. That's not friendship waiting to bloom. That's a line you guard fiercely. And once William made it clear he wasn't entertaining Meghan's positioning, the whispers say the script shifted. Enter Harry. Here was a younger prince, single, open-hearted, a little rebellious, and crucially, vulnerable. The timing, impeccable. Within weeks, Meghan and Harry's connection escalated from dates to commitments, from private dinners to public headlines. Suddenly, the world was watching a modern fairy tale unfold. But Levin's version twists that fairy tale into something else entirely. According to her, this wasn't destiny. It was Plan B. With William out of reach, Harry became the next doorway into the monarchy.
Well, what's the significance of the HRH then?
Well, there's loads and loads of duchesses around the place, but they're not people who are royals,
right,
who actually work for the royal family. It's quite simple,
right,
and that's what they agreed to, and they were very pleased about it because Harry didn't want it anyway. But now, in an extraordinary way of doing it, she did it on a car, delivering to her friend lots of food.
Oh, yeah.
But what's really extraordinary is the Americans don't want any royal family telling them what to do at the, at all. They're not
even how to make bath bombs. I'm obsessed
even
with
how
the bath bombs.
but certainly not politically. They don't want. Meghan's very political, and they don't want that. And as for in the UK, they've been trying to get more friendly with William and Catherine and the King and Queen. So to do this...
And here's the kicker. The whirlwind pace of Harry and Meghan's romance? Levin suggests it wasn't just passion, it was urgency, a pivot, a plan in motion. Think about it. 1 minute Meghan is being kept at arm's length by William and Kate, the next she's diving headfirst into Harry's life. Dates turning into commitments at record speed, headlines rushing to crown it the modern royal fairy tale. But if you believe Levin's angle, this wasn't fate at all. It was strategy. And that's why this revelation has exploded across royal circles. Because if the public starts believing Harry wasn't Meghan's first choice, everything changes. Suddenly, the glossy interviews, the Netflix documentaries, the Oprah confessionals, they all start to feel less like heartfelt truth and more like carefully orchestrated PR moves. And no one likes realizing they've been sold a fairy tale under false pretenses.
Have done is learnt this is what Harry does now. He doesn't just attack them once, he just goes on and on and on. with Netflix, with Oprah Winfrey the first, and then that, and then moaning to everybody who he comes to. And I feel very strongly that he would have known what would be in this book. And he's done absolutely nothing about it, I thought.
But wait, it gets juicier. It's not just the William detail that has everyone buzzing. It's the pattern it fits. Meghan's personal and professional history has long carried the same undertone: access, influence, and positioning. Before she ever set foot at a royal garden party, she was already playing what some call the proximity game. Her first marriage to Trevor Engelson wasn't just about romance. He was a Hollywood producer, a man with doors she could walk through. Their marriage ended, yes, but not before it boosted her profile. And post-divorce, Meghan transformed. She began mingling with stylists, PR power players, and socialites with networks far bigger than her Suits co-stars. Every new circle she entered brought her closer to the kind of elite, untouchable world she seemed to crave. Angela Levin's claims sting because they slide perfectly into this bigger picture. She wasn't just chasing William as a charming prince, she allegedly viewed him as the ultimate key, the figure who embodied everything she was climbing toward: power, status, and legacy.
I think that you can't actually continue to do that without any gratitude. There was no gratitude. Meghan wouldn't be known for anything if she hadn't actually married Harry and been in the royal family. But she, her wedding was £132 million, no gratitude. And the whole thing was to destroy them and to, get rid of them so they could come and present a more woke, upward market couple. But they made a big mistake.
They would argue that they were hounded out of this country. The press were very hostile. You and I are both being very hostile now. You could argue the press attention has made their life a misery. They're entitled to complain, and that actually it's affected their mental health.
No, that's nonsense. They wanted to leave. The Queen said you can go. They had everything they wanted. If you've got, you move on.
That's the detail that really cuts deep. If you buy into this version of events, then everything that followed, the sweeping romance with Harry, the televised wedding, the explosive Oprah interview, it all starts to look less like a fairy tale and more like a meticulously staged PR campaign. And then there's Kate. Meghan famously labeled her cold, standoffish, even difficult. But what if the frost wasn't about personality clashes at all? What if it was about territory? Kate isn't just a sister-in-law. She's the future queen. She's married to the man at the very top of the royal hierarchy. And if Meghan once viewed William as her ultimate in, then Kate wasn't simply another character in Meghan's royal story. She was the rival who won.
Prince Harry is even more annoying than he is when he's with his wife.
Well, he's probably been instructed by his wife, but I'm quite surprised why. Well, I am and I'm not, actually, why she didn't come over, because it's obviously stressful.
Yeah.
He's obviously unable to cope with questions, or he has not done his research properly and he's sitting for an exam type of thing.
Yes.
You suddenly realise, help, I haven't looked up anything. And you would think that she would want to be there to support him, not come into the court, of course, but actually be there with him. But as we've seen recently, she disappears and lets him... well, he doesn't cope, but just let him go through it on his own.
She didn't come for the coronation, where he was here for about 5 minutes. He's come here again this time, basically to tell us that he hates the government. He doesn't like Britain very much. He hates the British press. I mean, I don't understand what his point is, really.
But he also wants to be addressed as His Royal Highness.
If Levin's account holds any truth, Kate spotted the danger signs early. While Meghan yearned for what she described as a sisterly bond, Kate allegedly kept her distance, composed and cautious. It wasn't cultural difference. It wasn't personality conflict. It was protection. To Meghan, the story was about being rejected by a cold royal family. To Kate, it might have been about guarding her marriage and her future role as queen consort. And in that light, Kate's so-called coldness takes on an entirely new meaning.
Harry called his father on his 75th birthday. There've been talks about Christmas, them seeing each other. I presume you think that none of that's on the cards now?
Well, I didn't believe it in the first place. I thought, why would he suddenly be all cosy and nice and want to come? And why on earth would Meghan speak to King Charles if she hates the monarchy so much? I think it was either a ploy set up so they can be nice and then whack them a week or so later. There are people who do that, bring someone flowers and then smash them up. And vindictive in the extreme. I can't see why they did that. They must have known when the book was coming out. Yes, I thought it was a very cruel move.
And then comes the silence. That's what has everyone whispering louder. Normally, Meghan and her team are quick to hit back when the press spins something unflattering. A legal threat here, a sharp statement there, maybe even a sly public swipe. But this time, nothing. Not a word. That silence is deafening. Critics are already calling it a quiet admission, and her most loyal supporters? Even they seem caught off guard, unsure how to defend something she hasn't even denied.
I thought he would say, you know, he's very keen on suing people. He would say, this is an invasion of my privacy and I won't have it. Or say, I had nothing to do with this. I'm so sorry, everyone. But he hasn't done that. And I think that the royal family have to get thicker skin and actually just get on with things.
Strip away all the glossy PR and what you're left with is a brutal accusation. Meghan treated the royal family like a ladder, with William as the first rung. Now, whether that's true or not almost doesn't matter anymore, because in the world of royals, perception is everything. Once a story like this takes root, it grows on its own. It forces people to question everything. The whirlwind romance, the wedding spectacle, the victim narrative, even their so-called freedom flight from the palace. And that's where the real damage takes hold. Because if Meghan really did pivot from William to Harry, then Harry starts to look less like the great love of her life and more like the convenient second choice. And for a brand built entirely on the idea of love conquering all, that's devastating.
It makes good news. People want to read about it. So I think quite soon they'll get bored stiff. But there's something compelling about hearing all this nastiness between, you know, you just want to know, you want to hear about it. You can't believe it. You can't believe what he's saying. You can't believe the lies he's telling. And you're fascinated by it, where the royal family are just keeping their dignity and staying quiet. But this will blow over. I don't know what Harry will do. He seems to me to be very ill and to need help immediately. Whoever is his therapist isn't doing very well, because he seems to have no idea of what is okay to say and absolutely what is not. And we have then Meghan's biography coming out, autobiography, and that will also do the same poor me, whine me.
And this is where the story flips. For years, Harry and Meghan painted the royals as villains, cold, unwelcoming, even racist. Meghan wore the misunderstood outsider crown, while the Windsors looked like the stone-hearted establishment. But if Angela Levin's claim holds weight, then suddenly the royal suspicion makes sense. Maybe they weren't cruel at all. Maybe they simply saw something Meghan didn't want the public to see. They spotted ambition. They spotted calculation. And while they couldn't call it out publicly, they didn't need to. Because now, years later, the whispers are surfacing on their own. This doesn't make the royals saints, but it does reframe the entire narrative. Suddenly, Meghan isn't just the victimized duchess fighting for freedom. She's the strategist who may have underestimated how quickly palace eyes can cut through charm.
Who is very sensitive, or despite the way he behaves, you know, his mental health issues, it must have been difficult. And she didn't put her own feelings away and came with him just to support him. I didn't want her to be there, but when I saw Harry walk in all alone, his cousins all had a partner and they had comfort and somebody else was there with them. And he was all alone, and I think that was part of the fact he was going, hello, how are you? And, you know, jogging along and just very, very self-conscious. But, you know, why can't a wife who really cares about her husband drop everything and is there for them when they're needed? You know, families can be very difficult, but sometimes you have to swallow what you think. They weren't talking to everyone. You could just sit there for 2 hours and then off you go. I thought it was heartless, really.
But let's not forget Harry. If Meghan really did pivot from William to him, what does that make Harry? It's not just Meghan's image that takes the hit, it's his judgment too. Think about it. If Harry truly was the backup plan, then every massive decision he's made since, the royal exit, the estrangement from his family, the media tell-alls, all of it looks like the fallout of being played. And the worst part, it suggests he still hasn't figured it out. That's brutal, because Harry's entire public persona is built on sincerity, on being genuine and emotionally raw. If the world starts to believe he was manipulated from the very beginning, then the foundation of authentic Harry shatters. And once that illusion breaks, it's nearly impossible to put back together. Sure, Meghan's most loyal fans are brushing this off as another smear campaign, but the silence from her camp, it's gasoline on the fire, and the whispers from former palace staff, they're no longer whispers, they're fuel, fanning flames that Meghan hoped would die quietly. The scariest part? It all fits the pattern. Meghan's history doesn't scream gold digger. It whispers ambition, deliberate steps, and upward rhythm in every relationship, every social circle. Not illegal, not even openly wrong, but planned. And when every move feels that calculated, even the most dazzling smile starts to look like a mask. Angela Levin didn't create these cracks. She simply shone a light on them. And now, what's falling apart isn't just the romance, it's the trust. The world bought into a love story, but now that story looks staged. And once trust disappears, there's no getting it back. And here's where it goes nuclear. If the public stops buying into the Sussex fairy tale, what's left for Harry and Meghan? Let's break it down. They've got a fractured relationship with the royal family, a media machine that once adored them but is now sharpening its knives, and a fan base that's starting to ask uncomfortable questions. The real heartbreak might not even be Meghan's ambition or the palace's suspicion. It might be Harry himself, a man stuck in the middle, defending a love that may never have been what he thought it was. Not the fairy tale prince living happily ever after, but an actor playing a role in someone else's script. And then, boom! The palace strikes back with a move colder than ice. Word leaked that Buckingham Palace has quietly slammed the brakes on royal privileges for Archie and Lilibet. No royal titles, no HRH, no more blurred lines. And this isn't petty revenge. Insiders say it's constitutional, backed by the 1917 letters patent. Translation? This is ironclad. King Charles isn't ranting or raging in the press. No, his strategy is quieter and deadlier. He's allegedly moving through official legal channels to strip Archie and Lilibet of their HRH status for good. That means no royal duties, no official roles, no perks. For Meghan, this is devastating. Her carefully built image as a modern royal mom has just had the rug pulled from underneath it. For Harry, the whispers say he's scrambling in private, desperate to salvage something, anything. But the palace? They're silent. Silent but unflinching. The message is crystal clear. No more second chances. And oh, it doesn't stop there. The palace didn't just leak whispers or let tabloids do the dirty work. They came armed with receipts, documents described as final proof, officially sealing Archie and Lilibet's change of status. This isn't just dusty paperwork. This is a symbolic strike, a public declaration that the monarchy is finished playing games. For years, the palace let it slide. The secrecy, the edits, even the Oprah bombshells. But now, the gloves are off.